Good morning. Welcome to worship at Unitarian Universalist Church West. We, including those outside, gather here in a community of adults, teens, and children who are diverse in identity and beliefs, bringing all that we are to a faith journey that welcomes our hearts, minds, and bodies. Here, we are alive with hope for a better world and a commitment into being. Here, we are working to truly see and learn from all of our neighbors and to break down systems of oppression. I am Reverend Denise Cawley, one of the ministers here, and the pronouns I use are she and her.
And I'm Ahmad Perry, and member of the Board of Trustees. And the pronouns I use for myself are he and him. It is good to be here with you this morning. In a moment, I'll be headed outdoors, where a bunch of our members are gathered in the church backyard. And I just wanted to let the folks out there know that I'll be available after the service to chat and answer any questions that you may have about the board's work. And if you're new to the church today, and you're here in person, I especially look forward to meeting with you.
Thank you, Ahmad. One more thing for newcomers who are joining us via the live stream, or even if you're outside, you can do it on your phone. We'd really love to meet you. We'd like to hear how you came to this place and what you're looking for. And all you have to do is send a message to visitor@uucw.org. Again, that's visitor@uucw.org. And we will be in touch with you. Let me take a moment to thank the team who helped create today's service. They include Kelly Bogner, our publications coordinator, Deb Roosh from our worship ministry team, Dave Cicero, our director of Lifespan Religious Education, Kathy Herwig from our Split the Plate team, and Miles Bogner, our sound system technician, and Ruben Pirinen, our lead music director, with choir members Colleen Gresk, Jim Fisher, Barbara Farr, Susan Endes, Vicki Brostrom, Carol Sewell, and Haley German Fisher. We're also thankful for all the volunteers who are working outside to make sure everyone is comfortable, and for Vicki Banville, our church administrator. So let's now move deeply into worship with our Chalice Lighting.
As we gather in this sacred hour, let us open our hearts to those who share this faith with us, whether we are together in person or in spirit. For we are here because they are here. There is no congregation without its members. Our relationships with each other, with ourselves, and with the sacred are the chalice, are the spark and the flame whose light calls us to ever widen the circle, cultivating compassion with stranger and neighbor and friends.
For our opening hymn, it is just a simple traditional song But we are going to lead you in some hand motions this morning because we know it's chilly outside and probably inside some of our houses as well. I know we have not yet turned on the furnace at our house, and I'm glad about that because it helps save the planet. So we invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join with us as we sing the simple song, Morning Has Come, with hand motions. Just give it a try, and when you feel ready, go ahead and join in. We'll sing it through 4 times. You ready, guys? Okay, let's go. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Once more, morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. Good job.
Good morning. I am Dave Cicero, and the pronouns that I use are he and him. Something I feel like I've gotten pretty good at understanding in life is one thing you can always count on. Staying the same is that things will change. Not a new understanding. People have been thinking about this for at least 2,500 years. There's a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, who actually wrote this, that the only constant in the world is change. Now, another phrase that I've heard fairly often in response is, this too shall pass, which we can take 2 ways. It could be disheartening that this is going to go away, or it could be hopeful that bad things are coming to an end and there will be something new to take its place. Now, some people don't really like this idea. They prefer to always have a good idea of what's coming next, what to expect. They might worry a lot, or get very sad, or even mad when things don't go as planned. They can become disheartened when they see that something good may be coming to an end. Other people, they thrive on change. They look forward to the surprises and the adventures that come with not really knowing what's coming next. They tend to remain hopeful, even in hard times, because they know that those will eventually become less hard. I wouldn't say that I thrive on changes, but I'm getting to a point where I can at least accept it. I wonder which type of person you are. This month, we're exploring how to cultivate relationships. That is, how to make friends and continue to be good, loving family or community members. Today, during worship, we're reminded that for any relationship to grow and deepen, it has to change. Now, how does it feel? And what do you do when a friendship ends or someone moves away? This book by Todd Parr, called The Goodbye Book, suggests that having to say goodbye to someone might leave you sad, or angry, or confused, or wanting to hide and not talk to anyone, or not eat or sleep. But as our younger children at church today will hear in just a little bit when they meet together, it also suggests ways to feel good about the times that you did have together, and how to be brave and move on. If you're not outside with us today, I encourage you to find a copy of this book, to read it and talk about it with someone you love. Another book, which our older students will share, is The Heart and the Bottle by Oliver Jeffers. It describes a loving, curious girl who experiences a profound loss, and as a result, puts her heart in a bottle. She leaves it there for so long that as she grows up, she kind of forgets about who she was before the loss. The things that excited her as a little girl. Until that is, another young person reminds her and helps her to figure out how to get it out again. The sad fact is that most relationships don't last forever. Forever is a long time. And my hope is that each of us can understand and accept this. The end of or change in a relationship doesn't mean an end to loving, as long as we remember and value those still with us. Now, as the children who are with us here today in person now leave for the RE classes, we escort them with these words. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know that love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Suzelle Lynch, another one of our ministers here, and the pronouns I use for myself are she and hers. And I'm here with Lisa Larson, our UUCW president, to deliver a special announcement. I feel so very blessed to have served as your minister since August of 2003. This is our 18th year together, and I'm proud of our long and productive ministry, our shared ministry, and all the joys and challenges and accomplishments we've experienced over the years. This is such a wonderful congregation, and I love you so very much. But in recent months, my soul has been calling me in new directions, and so I have decided that I will be retiring at the end of January 2022. I know that some of you already know this because you read the letter that President Lisa and I sent out on Thursday, but I know some of you are hearing this news for the first time. It's a lot to take in. Let me simply say that the choice to retire wasn't easy for me, but I thought about it very deeply and made the decision from my heart.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Larson, your church president. When Suzelle told me she decided to retire, I was silent in words. But let me tell you, my mind was flowing with lots of feelings and many questions. Once I got my words back, I could say that I was both very sad and very happy. Very sad that we will no longer have Suzelle as our spiritual leader because she brings so many different positive things to our church community. On the other hand, I was very happy for Suzelle personally because although we will miss her deeply, She has earned her retirement. For those of you who are retired, like me, recently, you know retirement's a big transition. There is sadness in your departure, but also excitement about what's to come. Both Suzelle and UUCW as a church community will have those feelings. Fortunately, we'll have a few months of transition to give Suzelle a proper send-off, to remember what we have meant to each other, to tend our sadness, and to celebrate all that Suzelle has brought to us personally and as a church community.
While I know inside that it's time for me to retire, I am very sad to be leaving our wonderful church at the end of January. I'm so glad we have been meeting in person outdoors this fall. I'm so glad we are beginning to rebuild our community in such a beautiful way, like at the chili cook-off recently. Ministry at a distance during the pandemic has been hard on all of us, but I have faith in the strength, the core strength of our community. If you're wondering about what comes next, please know that our amazing board will take the lead, and they'll have plenty of support from the Unitarian Universalist Association to navigate what's ahead of us. The UUA has good processes and procedures to help congregations through ministerial transitions. And our congregation really is healthy and strong, though we are sometimes divided by distance. We are unified by the great love that is at our core. And we're blessed by amazing volunteers and leaders, an extraordinary committed staff team, and a great board of trustees.
As a community, we have much to process together over the coming months as Suzelle completes her ministry among us and we transition into the future. So we start that process today. Today, Suzelle, myself, and many of your board members, Board of Trustees members, will be available outside after the service to talk to you. And then Suzelle and I will be available on Zoom at about 11:45. The Zoom link was sent in the letter we sent last week and in an email sent this morning. Let me repeat that because I know how I am and I listened, but I didn't really hear that part. So Suzelle and I and many of your Board of Trustees will be available outside after the service today to talk with you. And then Suzelle and I will be available on Zoom at about 11:45. The Zoom link was sent in the letter we sent last week and an email sent this morning. We know this is a big change, and we hope you'll make the time to talk with us today and at future opportunities in the days ahead. Thank you.
Quite a lot of news to follow. I wore my special tree necklace today because it helps remind me that we are deeply rooted and our roots are intertwined, and we can all hold each other through all of this. Today, I share words with you that were inspired by a prayer by the Reverend Jude Geiger. Spirit of life and love, my dear wonderful people who join us together of many beliefs about the mysteries of life, pause with me this morning to take a breath. Maybe one more. pausing and breathing in the face of change, these are acts of radical compassion for ourselves and for the loved ones who surround us. We have come to this space, both in person and online, bringing our full selves to this community, bringing our longings for connection, for inspiration, for healing and wholeness. And we find ourselves faced with the news that change is coming. And we remember again that change is part of our journey together as human beings who seek to live in community. Autumn is an icon of change. The leaves revealing the colors hidden to us before the weather grew cooler. The flight of the birds southward, bringing the absence of familiar feathers and the presence of visitors who stop to rest and feed before journeying on. We pause before those changes that come to us unbidden. We breathe into the changes that bring us excitement and joy. We are humbled by the changes that stagger us, the ones that carry with them sadness and fear. We are delighted to see that in every moment, the world grows in new directions, including some that promise to fill us with contentment. We remember that while the future is an open book, our vision can take in only one page at a time, and our dreams only one frame, what we now know. And we cannot reveal the blessings to come. We are neither where we've been nor where we're going. This is a liminal time. There is both promise and risk. Our community is beginning its next step along the path of mystery. May the journey be for gladness and possibility. May our ministry together be for healing and transformation. May we have strength, the strength we need to continue down this road together, always together. Blessed be, and amen.
Keeping our hearts open. One of the things I love about our Soul Matters themes for this year is that they're based on the premise of relationship. Not just this month's theme of cultivating relationship, but all of them, like last month's theme of embracing possibility. They all center around what our current times are calling us to do. They remind us that we are in relationship with our world and our era, as well as with our friends and neighbors and fellow citizens from anywhere and everywhere. This month, what the world is calling us to do is to cultivate relationship. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, when I think about cultivating, I tend to focus on how something begins. Cultivating reminds me of a gardener preparing the soil and planting seeds. But every gardener knows that growing something takes more than that. Seeds in the ground need water and warmth to be able to sprout. And to grow as tall as they're meant to be, they need light and possibly some mulch and some fertilizer. You can tell I'm not really a gardener, can't you? But I know that cultivation has many phases, and relationships, just like garden plants, need different things at different phases of growth. And like the diverse gifts that plants offer at different times, flowers or fruit, shade or scent, relationships offer us a variety of gifts if we keep our hearts open and give them what they need to grow. The harder thing in relationship cultivation is keeping our hearts open when growth brings change. And truthfully, growth always brings change. I think of the time when I was in my late 20s, just about to turn 30, when my longtime cherished friends from high school and college began having babies just at the time that my life took a sharp left turn towards seminary and my studies to become a Unitarian Universalist minister. We had shared so much of our lives together, gone through so many different changes with one another, and suddenly we were growing in different directions. Their lives were overtaken by the demands of diapers and breastfeeding and sleep deprivation, and mine was overwhelmed by quitting my job and moving to a strange city, Berkeley, California, and plunging simultaneously into relative pottery and challenging coursework. How would our friendships survive these changes? William Bridges is my favorite author on the subject of change and how we move through change. He says that change is something that happens to us. Specifically, change means that something has ended. He makes a distinction between change and transition. Transition is his name for the process we move through as we respond to change. According to Bridges, the endings in our lives are sometimes thrust upon us by forces outside our control, like when we're fired from a job. But more often, endings are generated from within us by our own organic growth. We find ourselves disenchanted with someone who used to command our love and our loyalty. We find we no longer identify with our work or with a cause. We lose our passion for some part of our life. When something ends, it's natural to resist, but eventually we comprehend that the change is real, and we begin the process of letting go. And then letting go moves us into the next phase of the transition process. It's a time of liminality. Limen, that word in liminality, that's the Latin word for threshold. A liminal space is a threshold space, a betwixt and between kind of place, like a long, dimly lit hallway between the room we're leaving and the room we're trying to reach. Theologian Richard Rohr, he says that liminal space is the place where we are when we've left behind the tried and true, but have not yet been able to replace it with anything else. In a liminal place, we're between our old comfort zone and any possible new answer. William Bridges has named this liminal state the neutral zone, meaning a kind of no man's land or nobody's land between our past reality and clarity about what will happen next. I've always thought the neutral zone was an odd name for this phase because when we're in it, it sure doesn't feel neutral. It's a time when we often feel confused, uncertain, anxious, and impatient. In the neutral zone, we may lose interest in our goals and plans. Because who are we if we're not working at that job or invested in this other particular relationship? We may feel stuck or dead or lost in some great non-world. In mythology, this part of the hero's life is usually the part where they're wandering in a maze or trapped in the belly of a whale. One of my favorite stories about transition is the story of Adam and Eve, who, by eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they abruptly cross the threshold out of their innocent state into a knowledge of their own likeness to God. And then they're expelled from the Garden of Eden into the bleak desert. And if that's not a symbol for the neutral zone, I don't know what is. Doesn't that neutral zone just sound like how the pandemic made us feel? The apple cart of our normal, happy reality was turned upside down, and suddenly we were swimming in a sea of uncertainties about safety, swimming in a sea of confusion about what's open and what's not, and why some people are working from home while others have returned to in-person work in an office or a business. The pandemic has made it hard to make plans because nothing felt solid. And quite frankly, it's not solid yet. That's the same kind of thing that was happening in my old friendships when I went off to seminary. Our shared reality had ended, and my friends and I were uncertain how to continue to be in relationship with one another. And transition was happening elsewhere in my life and in my friends' lives as well, due to their babies and my choice to go to school. So each one of us was in a double neutral zone. The neutral zone reminds me of the first time I sailed out into Lake Michigan, far out enough that we could no longer see the shore. My friends and I could only see the gray-green waters stretching to the horizon in every direction. It was exhilarating and frightening. How would we figure out which way to go? Often people arrive at the doors of our church when they've found themselves in the neutral zone. They come after a loved one has died, after a divorce, after the birth of a child, after the children have grown and left home, after losing a job. They come seeking a place and a people who share their values, a place and a people who will offer safe harbor as they work out where they are and where they're going. They're here with hearts wounded, hearts open, and really, aren't we all here the same way? Not merely for friendship and company, but for community, a network that can catch us when we fall, a circle of trust that can guide us in unfolding our gifts and invite us to use those gifts in guiding others. But I don't want to leave the neutral zone just yet. I need to tell you that it does have its own beauty. It's a time to pause and consider new possibilities, a moment when we can interview our values. Imagine sitting down in a chair and your values are in the chair across from you, and you ask them what they have to say to you now. Like Lake Michigan, the waters of the neutral zone can nourish us if we look below their surface. William Bridges suggests that when we are in this liminal neutral zone place, we need to make time to be alone, time to give our inner voice room to speak. What if we treated all of our activities as though they were elements in an elaborate and ancient and sacred ritual? Or we might find a counselor or a trusted friend to talk with about our lives. If we allow ourselves to fully inhabit the neutral zone, it can be a very creative place, a perfect seedbed where ideas can take root. But above all, it's important not to rush this liminal time. For no matter how soon the beginning of something new happens in outer life, the real, true, organic beginning in our inner life will take its own time. And now it's time for me to admit that I know that my upcoming retirement is the kind of ending that will nudge our congregation into that anxious feeling, confusing, neutral zone, even more than we're already pushed there by the pandemic. I am sorry. The mixed emotions Lisa spoke of in our special announcement, they're the harbingers of liminality. They remind us that we've crossed a threshold. We're letting go of the safe shore. We're sailing into the great unknown gray-green waters for a time. But you will find your new beginning. I know, and I will find mine. These new beginnings will come. The true new beginning for each of us will emerge when it is ready, if we don't rush past the neutral zone. It's like the stages of the cultivation cycle that happen after a plant has bloomed and borne fruit. We harvest the beauty and the deliciousness, and in the cooling seasons, our growing things begin to fade. They begin a time of dormancy, a dying back, if you will. They move into a waiting time. But underground, within seeds and roots, life is merely paused. It wonders, it's interviewing its values. It's waiting for the time when it is right for emergence and new beginnings, those new beginnings that will surely come. Relationships follow this cycle too. Though we didn't see each other in person for many years, my high school friend Christine and my college friend Monica never forsook me. They wrote letters to me, sending me pictures of their beautiful children. I wrote, telling them tales of the sermons I gave and the papers I penned and the songs I composed for church life. And then later I sent them photos of my son. Kept our hearts open to one another. And 4 years ago, as the neutral zone that followed the end of my marriage, as that neutral zone was coming to a close and new possibilities of relationship were emerging in my life, I also had the pleasure of officiating at Monica's wedding to her second husband. And that same year, Christine persuaded me to go with her to our 40th high school reunion and spend some time together exploring our old hometown. It is such a pleasure to have renewed these old friendships, to have relinquished the outlook, attitude, and self-image of our younger years, and to see these smart, amazing women afresh with the eyes of today. Facing change, crossing the threshold into liminal space, into neutral zone space, it takes courage. We're vulnerable when old ways of being no longer serve us, and we haven't yet developed our new ways. William Bridges once compared it to being like a lobster, which sheds its hard shell in order to grow, revealing a new, softer, and more flexible shell underneath. The lobster is tremendously variable to predators for a time until that new shell grows hard, and so it tries to stay close to sheltering rocks. Here at UU Church West, we can be those sheltering rocks for each other. And we can dare to grow as lobsters do, trusting this community enough to show our soft sides, knowing that others will trust us with their vulnerabilities when it is their turn to grow beyond the shell that holds them back. Here in this community, we are called to cultivate
relationship with one another, called to cultivate our relationship with change, with growth, and we are called in it all to keep our hearts open as much as we can. I am so proud to have been minister to this community. I am so grateful that we have a few more months together to celebrate all that we have created before we have to say our farewells. May our remaining time together be one of curiosity, even in the midst of neutral zone confusion. May it be a time of hope, even if there is sadness, and a time of joyful remembering, even if the future direction isn't quite clear. May it be so. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.
UU Church West Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us live out our Unitarian Universalist values and serve our community. Our Split the Plate partner for October is the Peace Learning Center of Milwaukee. The center provides workshops for youth and adults, teaching the practice and use of healthy communication and nonviolent conflict resolution to manage conflict in their daily lives. Here is a video that highlights all that Peace Learning Center is accomplishing.
Peace Learning Center is a nonprofit started in 2002. In those 18 years, we have worked with over 18,000 students and adults alike. We know the leading cause of violence in our city is unresolved conflict. Peace Learning Center doesn't put a Band-Aid on violence. We work at the root cause. We teach people very clear, concise tools to resolve their conflicts without violence. We believe conflict is inevitable. We are all cut from our own cloth and have individual life experiences. And while this is what keeps life interesting, it can also lead us to seeing the world differently from one another. We know the key is learning how to handle conflict productively. When it comes to dealing with conflict, many of us have established patterns of behavior that often exacerbate the problem. At Peace Learning Center, we empower participants with specific tools to manage these differences and maintain healthy relationships and communities. We teach students to actively listen, to share their point of view, to express how they feel, and to work together to find a win-win solution. This year, we have pivoted our programming to the virtual world. This year in our city has also seen the highest level of family violence ever, 35%. This is more than the double highest it's ever been in Milwaukee. Given this current reality, we have added family connections workshops to strengthen the love that family members already have for one another by empowering them to solve their conflicts peacefully. When given the chance to learn to choose peace, people in Milwaukee become peacemakers and spread that peace out into the world. Please consider supporting Peace Learning Center so that your local community can become a more positive place and peace can spread.
To support the Peace Learning Center anytime this month, go to the UUCW website's Donate tab and select Split the Plate from the menu provided, or use the information provided here. If you are joining us in person today, you can place your contribution in the blue box located at the Joys and Concerns table. For more information about the Peace Learning Center, visit their website at plcmke.org.
Sing songs of joy, sing songs of gladness, to every nation sing songs of joy. Sing songs of people, sing to every nation sing songs voices all together, lift them up in harmony. Join hands, believe in each other, one community. Lift your voices in harmony. Join hands, believe in each other, one community. Sing songs of joy, sing songs of gladness. To every nation, sing songs of joy. Sing songs of jubilee. Sing songs of nation, sing songs of gladness. Sing songs of joy. To all the people, to every nation, sing songs of gladness, sing songs of joy.
So wonderful to hear our members' voices. As we go forth, may it be to find and travel the path of compassion and wisdom, a path that opens us to new adventures and peace. May we greet all our neighbors and strangers along the way and open our hearts to a world in need of healing. May we be courageous before the forces of hate. May we hold on to our vision of the common good. Let us go forth, my friends, into this precious day. Blessed be, and amen.